very powerful Ring the Bell event that is brought to you by the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange in collaboration with the CFA Society. And so thank you very much to everyone who's just tuned in. We are going to have a wonderful, perhaps 1.5 hours or so of deliberations. We have lined up for you some very, very powerful female speakers. We do know that yesterday was International Women's Day. And of course, I think the theme that we're running with is hashtag Choose to Challenge. And so it's a great honor for us to be able to convene this morning and talk to women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. My name is Kudzai Mbaiwa, and I am happy to be your convener and moderator for the day. I'm immediately going to invite Ms. Tapiwa Bepe from the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange to give us a few opening remarks and talk to the theme for the day, and we will dive right in. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Kudzai. If you can confirm if I'm audible.
Very audible. Thank you very much. And we can see you as well.
Thank you very much. So very warm welcome to everyone that has joined us today. Kudzai has said, my name is Tapiwa Bepe, and I'm the Marketing and Corporate Affairs Manager at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So once again, happy International Women's Day. We are glad that you've actually taken time to come through and celebrate with us. So we are also delighted to have partnered with the CFA Society South Africa for this year's 7th annual Ring the Bell for Gender Equality. This is actually a global initiative by exchanges around the world to foster greater gender equality and also highlight the benefits of a diverse and inclusive workplace. So this year's theme is actually Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. This year's theme actually celebrates the tremendous efforts by women and girls as well around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we'll learn more from our speakers. So just allow me to do a short introduction of all our amazing speakers for today. We've got a panel of amazing women today, so it's going to be a fulfilling day for all of us as we celebrate Women's Day. We have Simbiso Musa, who is the investments manager with the National Social Security Authority, NASA, and she's also responsible for portfolio management of both the listed and private equity portfolios. Simbiso is the proxy coordinator for NASA, and she has 10 years professional experience in the investments industry with extensive knowledge in corporate restructuring, portfolio risk management, and financial modeling. Simbiso is also the chairperson of the judges panel for the Top Company Survey in Zimbabwe. I'm sure you know about the Top Company Survey. She also holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree in finance and MBA in strategy management from the National University of Science and Technology. We also have Sandra Msevenzo, who is the Director General for Zimbabwe Association of Pension Funds, ZAPF, and she has over 15 years of experience in the pensions industry. And prior to her role as the Director General, Sandra was the Principal Pensions Officer for Communications and Allied Industry Pension Funds, CAIPF. She was also a Client Relations Advisor for Minerva Risk Advisors. She's an Executive Committee member of the Women in Insurance in Zimbabwe. She's a trustee to the Insurance and Pensions Housing Company, representing ZAPF interests. Sandra has vast experience in business development, account relationship management, risk management, and pension administration. She's passionate about changing lives and making a difference. Sandra holds a Master's in Business Administration from the Women's University in Zimbabwe. We are also delighted to be having Marjorie Maida as one of our speakers today, who is the Managing Director and Chief Investment Officer of Old Mutual Investment Group Zimbabwe Private Limited, OMIG. Marjorie has more than 20 years working experience in the financial services sector and has worked with the Old Mutual Group in Kenya and Zimbabwe. OMIG is the largest asset management company in Zimbabwe, with funds under management of just under $1 billion United States dollars. OMIG is part of a diversified financial services group and has, over its 22 years of existence, continued to offer quality services and relevant investment solutions to its customers. OMIG offers its clients, which include corporates, pension funds, retail clients, an array of investment options through 5 focused investment boutiques. These are alternative investments, select equity investments, core equity investments, interest-bearing investments, and property investments. One of our speakers is actually the CFA Society South Africa president, who is Nerina Vaisa. Nerina is an independent ETF strategist and advisor, offering consulting services to the investment industry, financial advisors, and private individuals with a specialist focus on exchange-traded products, benchmark indices, and quantitative rules-based structured solutions. We're delighted because as the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, we actually recently listed the Old Mutual Top 10 ETF. Nerina is also a director of the ETF SA Portfolio Management Company and has been an investment professional for 20 years. Nerina is a CFA charter holder and the president of the CFA Society South Africa for the past 3 years. We also have one of our registered female stockbrokers in Zimbabwe, Tandiwe Shoniwa, as one of our speakers. Tandiwe has over 20 years experience as a broker. She worked for Intermarket Stockbrokers for over 10 years. Prior to that, she worked for the Ministry of Finance, Department of Taxes as a tax officer, and finally tax auditor. Tandiwe has been involved in numerous corporate actions on the ZSE covering listings, restructuring, bonus issues, share buybacks, and rights issues. So these are the amazing women that are going to be talking to us today, and we welcome you all, and we look forward to your presentations and the panel discussions. Thank you, Kuzi.
Thank you very much, Tapio. I think a fabulous lineup there. I'm feeling very privileged to be able to hear them this morning. And so let me immediately ring the bell so that we get right to it and invite Simbiso Musa from the National Social Security Authority, better known as NASA, to take us through her presentation. Simbiso, please come through and talk us through your presentation this morning. It would be lovely to hear, I think whilst you're just setting up, it would be lovely that this day we'll have an opportunity not only to hear from them presentation-wise, but I've also asked all of our guests as they begin perhaps to spend 30 seconds, a minute or so, just telling us a little bit about themselves, and also perhaps just letting us know how they got to where they are. So over to you, Simbiso.
Thank you, Kuzi, and thank you, Tapio, for the introduction and a very warm welcome. I'm just trying to upload my presentation right now. Just a moment.
I trust that you're winning, Simbiso.
Unfortunately,
not to worry. I think what you can do is you could proceed. You are talking us through. I'm sure someone from ZSE will quickly start to share from where they are, so that we can proceed. Please go through. Please go ahead. We'll organize to get the presentation being done.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kuzi, and a warm welcome to everybody. I'd like to start by thanking the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange and the CFA Society for hosting such this webinar in commemoration of Women's Day in such a tumultuous time as this. So I'll just dive straight into my presentation, whereby I'll just start by acknowledging, there we go. I'll just start by acknowledging the the impact of COVID-19 in our industry. So I believe the impact of any crisis are never gender neutral, and COVID-19 has been no exception. I think studies have shown that whilst in any crisis, everyone is facing unprecedented challenges. To be specific to this pandemic, everyone has been facing unprecedented challenges, but women are bearing the brunt of the economic and social fallout more than their counterparts as men. So overall, I think we've seen that women have had to balance being primary caregivers in their households. Women have had to become teachers, at the same time providing for the family and maintaining their careers or working on their careers. So narrowing it down to the Zim situation, over and above COVID-19, we also had other significant issues at the background, predominantly hyperinflation, which sort of then compounded the effects of the pandemic through retrenchments. And I think we've seen that even side hustles, because I think a typical Zimbabwean woman juggles a career and a side hustle. They have been having been affected by lockdowns because of the pandemic. So I would like to also tackle the aspect of leadership, even given the pandemic, and women leadership in different jurisdictions. I'm taking it from a perspective that all women are leaders, but it just depends with which jurisdiction are you working from. So we've got leadership in businesses, at the workplace, family, and home. But the most important tool which has set us apart, or which has set people apart, has been decision making. Whether its promptness, the extent, the strength of the decision that would have been made, the toughness of the decision. I think we've also read that during this COVID-19, amongst the top 10 most well-managed countries or well-managed areas for COVID-19, 60% of those countries are being led by women, the likes of your New Zealand, Germany, and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize on the importance of decision making in a pandemic or in a crisis, being a significant tool which then sets you apart. Going further, I just want to share a bit of my story with regards to commemoration of Women's Day, what Women's Day means to my personal journey. Obviously, it's a day to look back and celebrate how far I've come, despite the size of the progress, but there's need to acknowledge that it indeed has been a journey and a victorious one. So I'll just share a bit of it. Having lost my mother, who was a breadwinner at 16, and I had to decide, I think my strengths were in academics, so I had to decide and be very focused and intentional on achieving or just mapping a route out of the circumstances which had befallen me. So I think straight after college, I went to a stockbroking firm. I started off at a stockbroking firm, and it was largely a male-dominated. It's a male-dominated area. It's a male-dominated industry. At the stock exchange, by then we used to do the open cry method. You'd get into a trading floor and start shouting, "I'm a buyer, I'm a winner," and you'd have 20 male and 2 women. Those times I think I remember there were 2 women. And sometimes they would not come because they would alternate with their counterparties or with their colleagues. So you'd find yourself amongst 25 men or 20 men in a trading floor, and you are crying for a trade. So I think that formed the genesis of my personal journey in such an environment, and really trying to figure out how best can you thrive and how best can you grow in such an environment, be heard, be seen, and actually ultimately achieve your goals. I think everyone's goal is growth, largely when you're starting out. Moving over, I then jumped ship. I went to pension fund management, and it was the similar scenario as well. In a department of 16, I was the only female there. The rest were male counterparts. And I think in such an environment or in such a scenario, there's a lot of proving that has to be done. You need to raise your hand all the time. There is need for you to work twice as hard so that you prove firstly to yourself that you can do this, and then to others. That then leads for you to then shine in a male-dominated environment. The industry is quite evolving, but not at the desirable pace. Why do I say that? I'm sure all institutions have adopted gender inclusive policies, but it is the other end, which is policy implementation. We see that most boards, when you read annual reports, most boards, they highlight that we are a gender inclusive organization, but not all of them have a balanced gender metric on their board per se, even at senior management level. So there is still that gap between policy adaptation and policy implementation. So it's sort of like something which is just written in the air, but it's the pace of plugging that gap has not been very significant. Hence, there is still that lagging behind. But overall, opportunities are not handed on a silver platter. There is need for aggression. You need to fight for opportunities. You need to raise your voice higher and be heard. And you need to put in the work to actually show that, I'm worthy to be counted. I'll just also zone in on my organization and how I believe I've been able to make inroads with regards to making a difference and also standing out. I've talked of the issue of aggression. You need to be aggressive, not in an intimidating way, but in a task-oriented way, that whatever you start, you have to finish. Whatever you say, you have to do it. Because I think largely sometimes we are lost in having good policies, but not really implementing them. Agility, having that swiftness to adapt to any environment, dedication, of course, and occupation of space. I'd like to talk of occupation of space in a bit of detail. Whenever there is a crisis, there is creation of space, and this space for innovation, space for growth, space for new thinking. And we need to be occupying those type of spaces in order to actually make a difference and be recognizable. So in any organization, for example, when COVID-19 came, I think there was a lot of space with regards to how, for example, an organization can move forward from how they were previously doing things and adapt to the new way of doing things. And that's why we need to dominate, coming up with new ideas, coming up with new ways of doing things. I think I would like to just conclude my presentation by the question that now where does the post-pandemic period take the gender diversity narrative? Initially we say that within this COVID-19 pandemic, women have been hard hit more than the other gender. Are the winds of change favorable to women in leadership as we embrace the next normal? Definitely not. They might not be favorable to women. We might never know. But I believe that to navigate this wind, there is need for intention. We have to be intentional of the end game. In each and every area that you are operating from, that you are occupying, you need to be intentional of what's the end game. If the end game is growth, if the end game is you becoming a CEO of an organization, if the end game is you owning a business, you have to be intentional from the beginning. And as I said earlier on, that crisis creates space. So there is still a lot of space to actually work with regards to creation and with regards to maneuvering and standing out. So yeah, thank you very much, Kudzi. That's all I have to say for now.
Simbiso, I want to thank you for those many powerful thoughts and reflections. We certainly will come back to them somewhere towards the end. And thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for the insights. And we will have an opportunity to talk to those as we proceed. So can I invite our guests that even as we proceed, as our guests will be speaking, please feel free just to throw into the chat any questions that you have. We will harvest them and we will talk to them somewhere within the space that we have. And so moving on, I will continue to ring the bell and go ahead and invite at this time Sandra Msevenzo from the Zimbabwe Association of Pension Funds to take us on with her presentation. Sandra, over to you. Please feel free to share your presentation. You can run it as a slideshow if you may, and just talk us through in the next 10 minutes the things that you feel are important on women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you and good morning to everyone. Just trying to share my presentation. But briefly, as I'm sharing my presentation, I just want to give a brief background about my story into leadership. I think I started my career back then. I've worked with incredible men and women who've been very supportive. And personally, I've never suffered or felt that I've been discriminated as a woman. It has not been an easy road as a woman to balance work life and home, raising 3 kids, yet your career is on a positive trajectory. I've had a very strong support system from my husband, family, my sister, she's also on the call, Hilda Maseko, who checks all my reports, even if she doesn't understand anything to do about pensions. And also my workmates, my colleagues, my friends who have been very supportive. I've had great men who have been mentoring me through the process. And just to mention, No Jareva was a great mentor. I also need to mention Lutendo Magorimbo, my current chairperson. We're working together very well and she uplifts me. My message to other women is believe in yourself. Tell yourself you can do it. I am the best. I can reach greater heights, and daily cheer for yourself. Speak positive, and that's what drives me on a daily basis. Confirm you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can, Sandra. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, we can.
Sure. Okay. So just to get into the presentation, to say, despite decades of efforts to promote gender equality, I think most leadership positions in businesses, politics, even NGOs are occupied by men. And most people still work in occupations dominated by one sex. Yet the world gender ratio, that is the working gender ratio of men to women stands at 50.4 to 49. To 49%. women, which is an indication that we also deserve an equal opportunity. I think in 2019, the proportion for women in leadership roles within financial services was standing at 21.9%. And the financial services is the sector that we represent, which shows, and there is a projection to say it will grow to 31% by 2030. We still have a long way to go, to get to even the 50% that we call for. So still, we are below parity. Persistent gender imbalances are based on common stereotypes and myths about men and women abilities and preferences. So I'll give an example. When someone is driving and then there's a slow moving vehicle in front of them, people are quickly to say that's a woman. You see, those are myths and the stereotypes to just say, because it's a slow moving, upon overtaking, we realize it's a man. What then do you think? And in Zimbabwe, representing the pension funds, you find that board of trustees male to female ratio is about 72 to 28%. We also still have a long way to go in the board of trustees ratio for representation. I'll look at the effects of COVID-19, how they've generally affected society. There have been drastic reductions in school supervision hours. Therefore, women have to invest more of their time to support their children, and the school systems don't meet the needs of working mothers. You see, there's been loss of income leading to selling of assets by women, child labor, increased vending by children, girls resorting to prostitution. The risk of mothers leaving the labor force and reducing working hours in order to assume caretaking responsibilities. Struggle for women to balance work life, home life becomes a strain on women, like I've highlighted, that you need to balance school, you need to balance work, you need to balance this as a woman. Mental health issues become also topical. Fear of the unknown, there's generally a depressing environment with many negative issues which have been compounded by COVID-19, leading to increased suicide. To continue with the effects as well, this has led to economic crisis, and here's why. Women tend to earn less, even if you go to various salary bills. I've worked with a number of salary bills. If you are to rate them women against men, you see that women are earning less. Not sure the rationale or what has been happening. I think it all goes back to policy. Women are not therefore good to negotiate. Once they're told something, they'll just take and accept and say it's okay. Women have fewer savings, and women are disproportionately more in the informal economy. Most women are vendors, most women are into tourism, most women are into restaurants, and these have been heavily affected by COVID-19, because the moment lockdown was effected, those were the first industries to be closed. Women are more likely to be burdened by unpaid care and domestic work, therefore have to drop out of the labor force. Women make up the majority of single-parent households, and women hold most of the frontline jobs of caring for the sick, be it in the home or the nursing staff. Most nurses are women. The above reasons call for having more women in leadership where they can influence policy, and policy needs to take into account the multiple roles that women hold. What can be the possible solutions to the pandemic for women? Employers have to retain few female employees during and after the crisis. They also need to ensure that respectful workplace cultures, both virtual and in person, that is supporting the women in the digital gender divide in digitalization efforts. Put up Wi-Fi at their house, give them a laptop, set it up, they're able to balance, work and also their home life. Build more resilient supply chains by supporting women entrepreneurs with access to finance and markets, which is very difficult for women as well. You find that most of the time, collateral, it's either the title deed is in the name of the husband and not the women, which becomes very difficult for them to access finance. How can we bridge the leadership gap? There's need to reassess job requirements for the senior leadership team. What barriers has the organization created which need to be removed so that more women qualify to be senior leaders? Leadership positions, the higher the rank, the more skewed the gender representation becomes. You get into a board meeting, there's one woman or none. Encourage member support of leadership development. If people are encouraged from their senior leadership, they just feel they are part of it as well, which also improves, this gender disparity.
Implement formal and on-the-job coaching programs, which are mentoring one-on-one and provide support. Attracting and developing more women in leadership roles require company-wide change driven from the top. It must be a part of the strategy for organizations to create gender balance in the workplace. It must be a key deliverable. Retention, succession, addressing the skills gap and committing to inclusion are some of the ways organizations can challenge this status quo. Invest in programs that support women re-entering the workforce. And also key is addressing the double gender skills gap, especially in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It has always been a men's game, but women also need to be given all the support for them to advance in this STEM space. So how can how female leaders can shape the future? Women leaders are more transformational than men leaders. They function as a role model for their subordinates. So through this, they can use it to inspire their team and spend a lot of time coaching. Women leaders emphasize teamwork and authentication. Communication is a key to success. Women are good listeners and therefore should use the skill to volunteer for mentorship programs and inspire the women. And through this, you can create social clubs where you focus on elevating women and profiling them frequently, so that they can be recognized as part of a team. Empathy as well is one of the key drivers that women have. Use this technique in staff mentoring and task force meetings to establish yourself as the person who acknowledges the feelings of others, which is something that men do not possess, and can move through a difficult or emotionally charged topic towards a solution. Collaboration also is very important. Clearly establish the purpose of the collaboration, how it benefits the company, clients, or collaborators. When you articulate large purpose, for others to see its value. And then also trust, creativity, and productivity are qualities that would define successful new workplace. And a trusting environment happens when listening, empathy, and collaboration are present, with a predisposition for communication and relationship building. Women can be role models for shaping the future of work. Lastly, how female leaders can shape the future. Is in the patient industry, we're saying maybe we need to look at developing a database for women employment in the pension industry and promote them in their spheres, in their different spheres. We need to also talk about the known but unknown, unspoken about topics, especially sexual harassment. Most people shun away from this. We need to encourage employers in the pension industry to craft policies that protect women, to provide conducive work environment for women. And also, we need to probably start a campaign to increase female board trustees on pension fund board meetings. Thank you.
Sandra, I cannot thank you enough for those many powerful insights. Apparently, they say that people remember 3 things normally when they listen to a presentation. And I think one of my biggest takeaways there is retain, ensure, build, really summarizing all of the important things. But let me not spend time talking to this, because we will open up for the panel somewhere towards the end. I had invited colleagues to go ahead and share if you have any questions. So I will give you a final call. Final boarding call if you have any questions, right? Anyone has a question from the presentation so far? I am checking my chat box. I do not see any as yet. All right, if there are none, let me ask that we proceed. So here's what I'll ask that we do before we go to the next set of powerful presentations from our powerful people. I want to invite you wherever you are, just to stretch, because this does help. Now, if you can just stretch your hands, bring them to the front, wiggle a little, and I would immediately go to the next presentation, because it seems we do not have any questions yet. We are, oh, okay, there's something in the chat box there. Let me quickly check. While I'm doing that, I would ask that Marjorie be ready to come through. Oh, there's a question from Patience there. Will the presentations be available? I'm sure a plan can be made, Patience, because it's very powerful stuff. We'll only ask that you respect the IP and not go and publish books because today I really feel like we are being given great content, and we should all just walk away with a diploma or a certificate on women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world, which is our theme for today. All right, there being no further questions, let me ring my bell once again and invite Sandra to stop sharing, whilst I would also invite Marjorie to begin to share her presentation. Marjorie, as we've been told, is with the Old Mutual Investment Group. And again, we are looking forward to hearing powerful insights vis the theme we are running with today. Over to you, Marjorie. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kudzi, and good morning to you. Good morning to all the ladies on the call. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly.
We hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. And thanks to the two previous speakers for very powerful insights. And I'm sure we are all equipped and empowered to move forward as women in leadership. Let me try and share my presentation. And please confirm once you can see it.
Yes, we can see it, Marjorie.
Thank you very much. So, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 environment. I think this is a very powerful topic, and the last two speakers have already done justice to it. My main focus will just be on where we've come from as women, and we take that as a base for moving forward. COVID or no COVID, we just need to move forward as women. But I think COVID provides an opportunity for us to even take that agenda further. And I'll just be looking at some of the issues that we might have to focus on as we move forward. So just to start by highlighting where we've been and where we are right now. The top left graph indicating the CEOs who are women in the Fortune 500 companies. These are top companies in the United States. And if you look at that period of about 25 years, we are starting off at 0, and we are seeing a slow but steady growth up to about 7.5% as we ended the year 2020. And if you look at the trend line there, which is the dotted line, it's basically showing that we are steadily moving up. I think we would have wanted that graph to be much more steeper, but we must just acknowledge the progress that that has been achieved, given that we are starting off from a base of basically 0%. If we look at the table on the right side, it's showing statistics for South Africa. Unfortunately, for the whole of Africa, the data is quite difficult to get, but South Africa would be representative of what's happening in Africa. I'm not sure if the numbers are legible there, but if you look at the base, looking at women as a percentage of total South Africa population, we're sitting at about 51%, and this has been steady for the past 6 years, which is 2008 up to 2017. If we look at women as a percentage of employed population, again, it's quite sticky, around 43–44% average. But if you look at the tip of those triangles, where we're looking at directorship and CEOs who are women, on directorships in 2008, we had statistic of 14%, and that has gone up to about 21%. Then CEOs or chairpersons of organizations in South Africa, we're sitting at 7% in 2008. and in 2017 that had gone up to about 11%. So whereas the base is quite static, the women representation in top positions is obviously going up. Although it's not yet an exponential growth, we do acknowledge that growth, which basically means that women are being recognized at the top there, and they are also offering themselves for top positions, which is a very encouraging trend. I've already indicated that in Africa, data is quite difficult, but there's a study that was done, as shown by the line at the bottom there, where in Africa, women in leadership are at 38%. This is compared to the EU area at 30%, North America 29%, Asia Pacific 27%. So it basically shows that in Africa we are leading. And again, this is a very positive trend. Various studies have shown that companies with more women in top leadership deliver higher returns on equity, and that's creating shareholder value. And I think the last speaker has already indicated that women naturally have some soft skills to their advantage as compared to men, and these include professionalism, collaboration, critical thinking, and trust. So it is my hope that companies will also look at these statistics and embrace women, because at the end of the day, the purpose of each company is to create shareholder value, and we are available as women to contribute to that shareholder value creation. Now, coming closer home in Zimbabwe, and again, I'm glad that Sandra did share some statistics in Zimbabwe regarding the pension funds industry. But in general, I just picked some positive developments that are happening within our country. We all know that we had a new constitution around 2013, and within that constitution, there was issues to do with gender equality. And the Gender Commission was formed in 2013 and put together in around 2015. And the mission for the Gender Commission is basically to promote, protect, and advance gender equality, which is a very positive thing. I'm not a politician, I'm not a legal person, but just having this issue entrenched in our constitution is a very positive thing. And I think we've seen the government trying very hard to try and embrace this issue and to move it forward. So we might not be where we want to be, but definitely we are on the right track. And if you look at the companies and other business entities, this is a governance guideline that comes after the Companies Act, and this was enacted in 2019. Section 2020 also has something to do with gender equality, which says formulate and implement a policy to promote diversity and gender balance in the governance structures and employment policies from the board downwards. So again, this is quite positive recognition that equality issues are quite critical, even in our organizations. Then if I can also refer to our own policy within Old Mutual, which we call the proxy voting policy. This is a guideline that you can find on our website, and it basically guides us in the way we do responsible investing. And this is focusing on environment, social, and governance issues. Section 323 highlights that we generally vote for board committees that reflect a level of diversity in terms of skills, race, and gender. So again, this is a very positive thing, and I think we have seen a lot of focus, especially on the listed companies, where they are also looking at a balance at board levels and at management levels with regards to gender. If I can also highlight what has happened within my organization, Old Mutual. I've been with Old Mutual for more than 20 years now, And I've seen transformation with regards to this issue of equality. 10 years ago, women in management within Old Mutual were under 5%, but as we speak right now, we are sitting at 33%. And if you look at women within the ExCos, as you would know, Old Mutual has got a number of companies or divisions within the Old Mutual Zimbabwe Limited organization. And within business units, 10 years ago, we didn't have any female ExCo members. But right now, we are averaging 50%. So there's a balance between males and females within all ExCos. So these two slides are just basically highlighting that there has been some progress. We've got a base that we can start from as we move forward in terms of issues of gender equality. So just looking at how we have achieved what we've achieved so far, remember I said there is some progress, although we are not where we want to be. So we still have a journey to go to be where we want to be. But some of the issues that have helped us to be where we are, the issues of stereotypes, I think the first speaker did justice to this issue. But I would just highlight one issue to say, in the past, we had some professions that were known to be aligned to women. A lady would just be a teacher or a nurse. These top positions were reserved for our male counterparts. But there has been loss of education linked to the second point there, increased the awareness about equality issues from the top levels, from policy levels, within organizations, within schools. And this has really helped. And I think we've seen some very fine female leaders coming out of these processes. Penetration of male-dominated environments. I think, as I said, the stereotypes would have told us that women should just be teachers and nurses, but right now we're seeing CEOs of banks being females, and previously this was a very male-dominated environment. Where I'm working in Old Mutual Investment Group, when I joined OMAM then about 20 years ago, if you look at a pool of analysts that we had, we didn't have any females, but right now our investment team is almost 50-50 between females and males. So it was indeed a male-dominated environment, and I think this is true for all the asset management companies, and we've seen this progression, which is quite positive. There are a number of women's forums and platforms as well, such as this one, so that we motivate each other that there's no glass ceiling there, we've got to break it. And then deliberate efforts by businesses to embrace equality issues as part of their strategies. I've certainly seen this within Old Mutual, and I believe that is true across the market, that gender issues, gender equality issues are a topical issues within company strategies. We have gone some miles, but we are not yet there. There are some hindrances and stereotypes still remain. We still need to continue focusing on breaking these stereotypes. One speaker also spoke about the multiple roles as women that we find ourselves in. We are employees, we are wives, we are mothers, we are caregivers. We've got quite a number of roles, and time becomes a challenge. So we just need to teach each other how we manage our time and how we multitask so that we move forward with this agenda. Mentorship and empowerment at very early stages of our careers. I'm glad that this is an area of focus in most organizations, and certainly where I come from, we've got quite a number of trainings, quite a number of mentorship and empowerment initiatives that are being implemented, and they have indeed worked. And I can just mention at this point in time that within Old Mutual Zimbabwe, I was the first female MD to be appointed about 6 years ago. So this is quite positive, and I believe that we are on the right trajectory as Old Mutual, and I would want to believe that other businesses are also taking the similar steps. Bias and discrimination at the workplace, this has been mentioned before, and we just need to ensure that we work together as teams together with our male counterparts, so that we also do mentor females so that they can take up these leadership positions. We also need to be confident with ourselves, and this has also been mentioned by the first speaker. Let's be confident, let's prove ourselves that we are equal to these males. As I've indicated earlier on, women contribution to shareholder value creation is quite profound, and this has been proven by a number of studies done in America. So we must prove a point that we are available and we can deliver. Lastly, just looking at the way forward and also zoning into the issue of COVID-19, I just want to take COVID-19 as a crisis that is coming and going. But as we all know, all crises have got opportunities within them. And as women, we must just embrace them. So just looking at a few issues, I know there are challenges that COVID-19 and working from home is bringing to the fore, but let's just focus on the opportunities that these lockdowns are bringing to us. So the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, obviously, this is going to reshape the structures of economy, and this means that as we get out of this pandemic, there are likely to be new skills required in the industry. And as women, we must take advantage of this, upskill ourselves. And I know a number of companies also have these trainings that they are doing to upskill their staff. Let's take up those opportunities as women so that we become future fit, and we also stand up with men when this pandemic finally ends. COVID-19 has also accelerated digitalization. We are all doing online meetings, online work, and even this webinar is online. So it allows for easy access to empowerment tools. Let's take advantage of that and be educated and be future fit. Flexibility, I've talked about a number of roles that women find themselves with, but working from home, certainly from my point of view, when we started working from home last year in March, it was very difficult, the work-life balance and also long hours, the burnout, but we are getting used to it now. And it provides some flexibility. You can be doing quite a number of things at the same time, but still delivering. Let's take advantage of that and stand up as women. Networking again, I believe that even right now we are networking digitally, and it becomes quite easier than traveling to various forums, various sessions to try and get to meet with different women and learn a lot of things. So I would just want to emphasize that COVID-19 is coming and going, and it's a crisis that has impacted most of us positively and negatively, but let's just focus on the positives and take advantage of these so that we can progress the agenda of equality. It also is a responsibility of organizations to make sure that after this crisis, we bring out the talent that we have, especially with women, and we upskill them to ensure that they are future fit. It's also upon us as women. Let's just not wait to be recognized. I think some people who went to school the same time as me, we know that when we left advanced level education, high school, going to university, there was this issue around affirmative action where for particular degree programs, for females, the required points were much lower than males. But I think that should be the thing of the past. We must prove ourselves and stand up and demonstrate that we've got the required skills and we can also deliver wherever we are. And also, as women at the top and women in top management, we must be role models for the younger generation as well as those who are early in their careers. So we must not alienate each other as women. Let's help each other. Let's mentor each other. But basically, let's take advantage of this period of COVID-19 to prepare ourselves for bigger roles in these organizations. Thank you.
Marjorie, thank you very much for the presentation. As she takes down hers, I would want to appreciate once again the very powerful insights. I'm very constrained for time now, so I'm going to ask that we move as quickly as possible. And I want to go ahead and also invite to share with us Nerina Visser, who is the CFA Society South Africa President. You are aware that we are co-hosting this event with them as the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So we cannot thank you enough, Nerina, for allowing your
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
In this way, even now ringing.
Thank you, Kudzai. Can you hear me clearly? I just want to make sure that I'm being received properly on that side.
Perfectly well, and I already see your presentation. Thank you.
Great stuff, great stuff. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me this morning. Thank you to the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange for hosting this wonderful event. And I really am honored and privileged to share the lineup of amazing female speakers this morning. My name is Nerina Visser. I represent the CFA Society South Africa, and I must be at pains to point out that we are talking here about a regional society, not a country society. So when I say I represent CFA Society South Africa, I also represent the 150 odd CFA charter holder members that we have in Zimbabwe. I'm going to be sharing a bit more about CFA Institute and the society with you shortly, but maybe just by means of an introduction, a little bit more about myself. I grew up in a very much a female-dominated environment, and I consider myself privileged for that because I think a lot of my growing up really was never one of, I can't do this because I'm a woman. I have only sisters. My mother only had sisters, and I only have daughters. We all went to girls' schools, and so we really have been surrounded by strong women all along. But I also give honor to the men in my life, men, I think, who are strong enough to recognize and support strong women as well. So it's wonderful today to see that we don't only have women on this webinar, but certainly men representing the investment industry in Zimbabwe as well. Because after all, it's really about when we all take hands together and we all work together that we can create the future that we so desperately need and want. I'm going to switch off my video now so that I can focus on my presentation and take you through just some of my key thoughts around the Ring the Bell for Gender Equality event that we are focused on here today. So Ring the Bell for Gender Equality is really an initiative that represents over 100 stock exchanges around the world. So consider yourself part of an amazing global community in this week of International Women's Day. It is the 7th year that this is being conducted, and the theme for this year really is about women in leadership and achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. And I really am so pleased by the previous speakers who've illustrated, I think, the challenges, but also some of the opportunities that this has created for us. And I think what we're doing today by ringing the bell is really just to raise awareness to those challenges, but certainly also raise awareness to the opportunities that we have in terms of this. So the CFA Institute is the premier investment professional network across the globe, representing over 168,000 CFA charter holders worldwide, more than 160 markets. And as I say, here in Southern Africa, the SADC region, we represent over 1,900, almost 2,000 members, of which about 10% of our members come from countries outside of South Africa, Zimbabwe being the largest country outside of South Africa in terms of our membership base. And we also have members in Botswana, Namibia, Malawi, Swaziland, we've got Zambia as well. So truly representative of the SADC region. We do also offer membership to non-CFA charter holders, meaning that you don't necessarily have to have the CFA designation in order to be a member of this investment community. And I would certainly encourage those of you that are investment professionals to consider joining the society for the opportunities around educational initiatives, networking opportunities, and so much more. But today is all about gender equality. And so I really want to focus a little bit on the stats of our female membership. The very first graph that you see is a little bit of a sorry graph, but I am slightly relieved to at least say that in the most recent set of data for the year 2020, we have finally seen a slight uptick in terms of our female membership. After many years of being stuck at 17%, we have now increased it to 18%. Clearly not nearly enough. So what can we do about it? How do we grow our pipeline of strong female members in our CFA society? And therefore the second graph for me is a very encouraging one, because this one looks at the gender trends amongst our candidates. And there you will see that there's been a steady rise, and in fact a very strong increase in 2020 to almost 40% of our candidates for the CFA program being female. And if you look at the final graph on the right hand side, it gives you some perspective of the averages around the globe. And you'll see that with the exception of the APAC region in level 1, our numbers here in South Africa, in the Southern African region, of almost 40% female candidates is some of the highest numbers that you see globally. And it's certainly something that we as the board of CFA Society South Africa encourage very strongly. And I really call on all of you to take hands with us and focus on how we can promote women, and not just as candidates, but also as charter holders and investment professionals. Because when I look at the female statistics in Zimbabwe in particular, there are 8 female CFA charter holders in Zimbabwe. And then we have 4 charter pendings. Now you might ask me, what on earth is a CFA charter pending? A charter pending represents somebody who has already passed all 3 levels of the CFA exam, those very difficult, onerous exams. They've already passed these. What stands between them and becoming, earning their CFA designation is 3 years of relevant work experience. So we have the ability as an investment community here in Southern Africa to increase the number of CFA female charter holders in Zimbabwe by 50%. Literally by bringing those charter pendings into the workplace. They already have the academic proficiency. They already have the qualification behind them. What they now need is the relevant work experience. And so if any of you are interested in being connected to one of these 4 amazing ladies, please do reach out to us. I'm also very excited about the pipeline in terms of our female candidates, and you'll see for the current exam cycle in 2021, we have 113 candidates in Zimbabwe, spread across the 3 different levels, 65 in level 1, 37 in level 2, and 11 level 3 candidates. And as employers represented on this call, I also want to please call on you to support the candidates that you've got in your organizations, to give them the time necessary to prepare for these exams, and to really in that way bring value not just to themselves and to your organization, but to the overall investment industry in Zimbabwe. Our focus, as I said here today, is of course on women in investment management. And this is one of the core principles of the CFA Institute. And when we talk about women in investment management, it really encompasses the broad spectrum of diversity, inclusion, and even belonging initiatives. We are involved in so many different activities. I'm going to be showing you some of our recent events shortly, but I want to highlight some of those initiatives. The second bullet point there is so important, the access to CFA Institute Women's Scholarships. So CFA Institute often offers scholarships for CFA candidates, and in addition to their regular access scholarships, they also have specific scholarships available for women. So I want to raise awareness of this to show the opportunity that is there for women in particular to access scholarships through CFA Institute. The networking and mentorship aspect is so important. I was so pleased when Marjorie highlighted that as one of the benefits that we've seen out of COVID-19 is that this virtual world, this online world, has really opened up incredible opportunities for networking and for mentorship. Of course, a big focus of CFA Institute is academic and technical excellence and professional excellence in our craft. But the soft skills training around things like, if I show you some of our events, for example, overcoming the imposter syndrome, presentation skills, learning from the experiences of other senior female investment managers. Those of you presenting and talking today have shared so generously about your own journeys, and I think those role models are so incredibly important to highlight to the young members of our investment community of what can be achieved within this industry as a woman. Quick focus on the 3 strategic pillars that CFA Institute and through it CFA Society South Africa focus on. It really looks at developing future professionals. So this is where we are providing support for candidates, universities, the research challenge that we run there. A major focus on delivering member value. So our existing members, whether they be CFA charter holders or just members of the local society, a whole lot of different initiatives there in terms of delivering member value. And then we are also very proactive in building the capacity and the market integrity of our financial and capital markets across the SADC region. Once again, as members of a global organization, we have the ability to bring global best practices to our local regulators, to our local legislators, and really assist them in terms of maybe fast-tracking some of the regulations, things like, for example, MiFID or any of the other global G20 regulations that are applicable to us here in Southern Africa, how to incorporate that into our local regulations. But my final thought for you today, we've spoken about the importance of education and the importance of networking, which I think are 2 of the most important ways in which we can promote and support women in the investment industry. But I want to end off my remarks today by really congratulating the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange on one of the most important aspects that they've done in terms of female financial empowerment, and that is to provide access, direct access to investment opportunities. So what was already being mentioned was that the first exchange-traded fund was launched on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange by Old Mutual in January of this year. January 2021 saw the homegrown ETF of the Old Mutual ZSE Top 10 ETF being listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And you can see some of the incredible statistics that we've seen in the short 2 months since its launch. Why do I say ETFs are such powerful investment tools to provide access? It's really about 2 things. It provides a lower risk because of the diversification, a lower risk access point for first-time investors. But it also facilitates access because through a single trade, an investor gets access to 10 different companies on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. The other aspect of access really focuses on where and how do I actually buy not just my ETFs, but my shares that I can buy on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And the ZSE Direct, the online trading platform that was launched in September 2020 last year, is exactly this. This is addressing that critical aspect of opening up access to the primary capital market to ordinary investors, including female investors, of course. The minimum trading value, as you can see there, a very reasonable 500. And we've already got over 3,600 clients registered on ZSE Direct. So congratulations to the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange for these initiatives, because ultimately, as we open up access to these markets, you know, we know so well that when it comes to things like access for females in particular, where you have a well-diversified investment team, investment performance improves. Where you have a well-diversified board of a company, the performance of the board and of that company improves. But we absolutely know that where it is a woman who's in charge of the finances of the household, she's the one that really gets to stretch the dollar so much further, to make sure that money is being managed on an inclusive basis, on an empowering basis. And that's why today, really, I ring my bell for gender equality, not just in our investment industry and in the stock exchange and in the capital markets, but I think inequality in terms of financial and investment market access for all, certainly including for all women as well. So happy International Women's Day to all of you today, this whole week, and celebrate the successes that we've already had, and then go forth and build on those successes, because we've got so much more to do, and our opportunity is as vast as this African continent that we represent. Thank you very much.
Nerida, thank you so much for those insights on opportunities, reflections on where we are going, where we are coming from. And thank you once again for agreeing to partner with us on this very powerful event, ringing the bell as it were. I'm quickly going to invite for our last presentation, Thandi, to come through and talk to us and talk through her journey as a stockbroker. Thandi, if you may allow me to constrain you to about 6 to 10 minutes max, because at the end, I'm going to quickly throw some questions which you've curated to all of the ladies, and please be ready just to switch on your cameras for that very last session. So Thandi, we're over to you to talk us through your journey, your insights, your learnings, and women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Thandi. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have a presentation per se, because mine is a story. Yes, mine is a story, so I'll just narrate it. And thank you so much to ZSE and CFA for organizing this event. On an introduction thing, I will just say I've been a stockbroker for over 20 years, maybe 24 to be precise. And I've learned to defy social expectations, like things like women belong to the kitchen, or classifying women as children alike, like charity cases, like, you know, or women and children's rights. So I've learned to defy all that by being true to myself and having confidence in who I am. So when I'm in the stockbroking space, I no longer think of man or woman. I think task, I think execution. Then the points that I would just want to mention, just to fortify what all these wonderful women have said, is what I've learned through my journey. The first one is I learned to harmonize work and life. So my life revolves around church, family, and work. I'm a pastor, a minister of religion. So I have to officiate weddings, minister at funerals, and be back at work. And also, just to mention that I am a breast cancer survivor. So at the same time, I have many women and other people who are struggling with cancer. I'm there to support them, to work with them, and I managed to get time to do all that, I can promise you. And as a mom, I've learned to let go of mom guilt. Like, I'm not with my children all the time and all that, but I know that I'm making the best choices for the whole family. And what we do with my children, they're grown now, but we used to do life together. I would go with them to church, I'll be with them at home, and when I'm at work and I need to be at home, I would leave work and go home and attend to them and then come back. So it's about maximizing all those and not overdoing one above the other. And it doesn't mean that I'm scattered everywhere. I've learned to know what needs my attention and what can wait. So with that, I'm enjoying every moment and making all roles interdependent. In the stock market, I think Sindiso has actually said it. In the stock market, when I started, I think the good thing is that I was prepared way before, because I grew up with boys, many boys. All my 5 immediate siblings were boys. So I knew how to maneuver around boys. But on the trading floor, with the open outcry method of trading, I had this thing of feeling like I'm drowned by those deep and aggressive voices of men, because they really can push you. But I learned to rise up to the occasion and make my voice heard. Other times would have intense moments on the trading floor, but outside the market would laugh together and cry together, and I got so much support and help from other male counterparts in the stockbroking arena. So I'm grateful to that. Then relationship with other clients and these institutional investors. What I learned is, like they've said about qualities of a woman, is being true to yourself, being a person of your word, exercising integrity, being ethical, and keeping things in confidence, confidentiality as well. So these things take you far. I've learned that over the years. And I've also learned how to deal with rejection, because you can work on a deal for maybe 2 weeks, trying to put a deal together, and maybe at the end, the fund manager just develops cold feet, or another broker comes with a better price and they take it away. So as a woman, the default position would be to just cow down or start going on a pity party. But what I've learned is that in this space, you can't afford to do that. You just need to dust yourself up and keep going. And just learn that in this market, there's a term that we call Christian famine, that you can make a deal that can take you for months. And then there are times when you can stay for months without a meaningful deal. That's what happens. So we just learn to persevere. We keep asking, you keep knocking, and you keep seeking. What we always say is that the worst a client can say is no. So I am not afraid to approach clients and talk to them. Then the last point is on encouraging women to participate in the stock market. Because a woman, as it was mentioned by Nerina, that a woman is a natural saver. They know how to put away that dollar for a rainy day. And in Chinese, they talk about crisis being an opportunity. So in this time of COVID, a woman can rise up. I really encourage women to rise up and participate in the stock market, because this COVID crisis has opened up many opportunities for us to address Zimbabweans who are far and wide, like outside the country, in the diaspora, and talk to them about the stock market. So we talk to them and we encourage them, and most of them pleased to stay. And I've heard about some places where women have started investment clubs, because we always talk about these clubs where women save money and they give tens to each other to pay themselves out. But I always challenge the women that you have the right concept, but it doesn't have incremental value. Because in other places, women are following business news, they have investment clubs, they are investing in the stock market. And whilst other women will be watching soap movies, they'll be watching business news and following up on their shares and all that. And they are doing so well. So I promise you, as a woman, if you go into the stock market, you will not regret it. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Tandiwe. Some very exciting insights from there, and I was just enjoying your story as someone who also started, their investment markets career in stockbroking. I am going to go ahead and invite all of the other panelists to turn their cameras on, so that we can see you and see your smiles, and once again see the faces of the powerful women who've been speaking to us this morning as we get to conclude. What I'm going to do for this last what I would call your closing remark, but I am going to throw a certain question to each of you. So I'm just waiting for Sandra, Simbiso, Marjorie, Nerina, Tandy. I'll invite you once again as well to switch on your cameras so that all of us are visible at once. Would love to take a picture as well. Just print the screenshot. Please give me your best African smiles. Thank you. And perhaps I should have said Southern African ones, since we are all from Southern Africa. And so as we close, thank you very much, ladies. I want just to thank you all for the consciousness. So many powerful insights today. I think, like I said before, it would be great if all of us could get diplomas of some nature. So I'm going to quickly throw some questions which I've curated here that we'll ask you to very quickly respond to as a parting shot. So I will do it in a specific way and in order. I'm just going to allocate very quickly. I will ask that you give us your last, if I may call it 30 to 45 seconds, just to treat this particular question. So this first one, I will ask Marjorie to take up. We know that there has been very little representation of women on top, in top management positions. You did infer that in your presentation. Just one hot take. What is your take on what might be the biggest hindrance for the promotion of women? Just that in perhaps 30 seconds. I'll shortly invite you. And before you come through, I would also ask Simbiso to reflect on this one. What do you think, Simbiso, that organizations, how can organizations, in your view, advance women empowerment? I know at NASA you do work with many different ones, so we'll take advantage of your exposure on that as well as investments. But we want to ask, what do you think we still need to do as a sector to promote gender equality? So your thoughts would be very nice as a parting shot there, Simbiso. And Nerina, I'm going to ask you if you could let us know, as a member of Women in ETFs, we are aware that you are part of that, what achievements have been established since its establishment, and or rather what achievements have been accomplished since its establishment, and what has been the impact, especially in Africa. We obviously ask that because we've also recently, and you made inference this in your presentation, launched an ETF in Zim. I will ask Tandiwe just to let us know, what do you think needs to be done in this Women's Month to promote more participation of women in the stock market? And then last but not least, I will ask Sandra to let us know, because you did speak about how you have had a really great experience. How can we as women be powerful without alienating people? How can we flourish in a male-dominated environment? So I hope you've captured those questions. So I'm going to start very quickly with Marjorie, and I'm keeping a timer close in hand. Please, your parting shot, 30 to 40 seconds, treating the questions that I've asked. So Marjorie, over to you.
Thanks very much, Kudzi. What are the hindrances to us getting more women at the top? I think the biggest hindrance is ourselves as women. We are waiting to be discovered. Let's embrace change and let's avail ourselves to the top position. Let's educate ourselves, let's upskill ourselves, let's challenge the men, and let's be heard. We'll be able to break the glass ceiling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet. Simbiso, over to you. Your thoughts? What do we still need to do to promote gender equality? Thank you. Yes.
I think as organizations, we need to start from the grassroots, especially in our sector. There is need for mentorship at starting from universities. If you take a look at a profession like chartered accountants, there's so much that has been put in to really understand where one starts from and what is the end game. So we need to go to the grassroots, to our universities, our colleges, and educate the women where we need to start from and what's the end game. We need to be in those leadership positions. They need to be intentional about it. Thank you.
Fabulous. We will be intentional. Nerina, over to you. Women in ETFs, how far have you gone?
So Women in ETFs is another global organization that represents women who work in the ETF industry or have an interest in it. And in South Africa, we've also got a very strong following, over 150 members. And in 2020, we really grabbed that opportunity that the virtual world opened up to us and had an incredibly successful mentorship program. And we are so enthusiastic about it that we are immediately following on with another one this year. smaller. So I think it's wonderful to see the extent to which we can do mentorship, not just in our close community and immediately around you. I'm involved in mentorship programs in Romania and in Poland, for example, where there are mentors also from places like the Netherlands and from Canada. So let us embrace these opportunities that technology has given us to really make our circle so much smaller. Women in ETFs and the mentorship program, open to anyone who would like to be involved in it. So I certainly want to encourage all of you, use these opportunities that technology gives us to really embrace your own learning, your own experience, but just taking yourself and your career to the next level. Thank you, Kudzai.
Thank you very much, Nerina, and I'll come over to you, Thandiwe. What do we do to get more women involved in the stock market?
Yes, I believe maybe we need to be more intentional about this in conjunction with the ZSE to follow up girls and women in schools, in colleges, and create an investment awareness. And be intentional about it, especially now that we're on Zoom, you know, we can actually make use of that and touch every woman we can. That will make a big difference.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Thandiwe. And then last but not least, I'll ask Sandra just to wind up with telling us, how can we be powerful? How can we do this without alienating people? And how do we move forward in a male-dominated world?
Sure. Thank you, Kudzai. I think key is know your space, run in your lane, be your own competition, ride on your soft skills, the empathy that I highlighted, collaboration, and good listening skills. But above all, you just need to be aggressive and move with agility. Thank you.
Fabulous. Ladies, I want to thank you for the very last time for this very, very powerful session. For those that are asking, it was being recorded, so I'm sure a link to the recording will be made available. And of course, that would mean you'd have indirectly access to the presentations. This has been a very powerful session, lots of learnings, lots of things to reflect on. Thank you very much, and continue to shine and be the role models that we require, that you yourselves have been speaking to. I will quickly hand over to Tapiwa to give us closing remarks, and we will call it a day.
Okay, thank you so much, Kudzai, and thank you so much to the amazing ladies and to everyone that took their time to actually come through. Our apologies that it overran, but I am sure it was actually quite insightful. And let me just quote Serena Williams, who says that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We are strongest when we cheer each other on. So as we part and as we go back to our day-to-day duties, thank you once again, Simbiso. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you, Nerina. Thank you, Thandiwe. And thank you so much, Kudzi, for moderating this, and also for the CFA Society South Africa for partnering with the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. The hashtag for this month was Choose to Challenge. So we choose to challenge all women that are present here to rise up and take charge in your spheres of influence. I'll just ask for those who are comfortable, if you can just turn on your videos, and then we can take a screenshot and then we'll share with everyone. For those who are comfortable, please just put on your video and then we'll take a quick screenshot. Great, I'm seeing so many people.
We normally say cheese. For this one, you can say ring the bell.
Yes, ring the bell, and happy International Women's Day.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all a happy day, and let's continue to shine as women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.